Good morning, pilgrims, on day 5 of the Camino Frances in reverse, day 36, Sevilla to Rome. It is 8:14 in the morning, 10 degrees. Nice. So nice. Perfect temperature to be walking. And today we have a 25-kilometer day to Puerto Marin, one of those towns that I really love on the Camino. I had breakfast this morning at the bar right across the street from the Municipal Albergue, and I'm seeing all the pilgrims getting ready to start the day. I woke up like at 7 this morning, supposed to be out of the albergue by 8 o'clock, and people actually started waking up at 7:30. What a difference from other Caminos when you see people waking up at 5:30 or 6. Yeah, that's how it goes. I'm starting the day with a climb, of course. There it is, just a little one. And then there's a massive descent to Puerto Marin where I'm heading today. You know, it's nice to be out here on the Camino in the countryside with cool temperatures. And, Santiago was not bad, don't get me wrong. I treated myself there. I took out some cash from an ATM. Well, after searching all over the town for one that didn't have like a ATM fee, couldn't find it. So I ended up paying like $3 or $4 for it. Not a big deal. I took out like 300 euros. What else did I do? I did laundry. I already mentioned that. I did the this is a major one. I did the cathedral roof tour. My God, I highly recommend it. You get a bird's eye view of the city. I mean, I've been up there many times, not with my drone. I just needed to see it with my own 2 eyes, and it is well worth it. Now make the reservation in advance because of course it fills up fast. I'll leave you guys the link in the description down below. There is a Palace del Rey. Goodbye. It's still a nice view when you enter the town, but I liked it better from the other side. Now in Puerto Marin, that won't be the case because the best thing about Puerto Marin is coming down, seeing the dam, going over the bridge, and you have the town up there. One of the highlights of the Camino Frances for sure. I'm gonna see it differently this time around. See? I'm on my own then. Once you leave the town early in the morning, there's really nobody out here in the Camino. I'll start to see probably a few pilgrims coming my way. Those probably stay somewhere in between. The mornings on the Camino are the best time for me. When the sun hits you just right, when the lighting is perfect. Sometimes you see the fog in the distance through the mountains. I had a few of those on the Camino del Norte. Oh man, the pictures are just breathtaking. I mean, I wish we could see the sunsets here, but sometimes they take place so late at night, like at 10:30. I got to see them at 7 on the Via de la Plata. And right now I feel like I'm there. There's nobody out. I have the whole thing all to myself. And I do most of the filming in the morning, not so much in the afternoon. I don't know if you noticed, by the time I cross like the halfway point and I already had my lunch, I get a few more shots and all of a sudden I'm in town. Why is that? Well, you know, like anybody else, I get tired. I want to get there. I want to take off my backpack. So the fact that I'm doing the Camino in reverse is giving me a chance to film that second half of the day, but in the morning. So maybe later on I'll do a compilation of the entire Camino and it will be morning throughout. You'll see it both ways also, and in different weather conditions and different times of the year. That would be an interesting project to do, but it's probably gonna take me a while because I started doing this video already, and I remember that day one I had 3 hours worth of footage. Just day one out of like 30 something days. The editing is what separates the big boys from the newcomers when it comes to making videos out here. Unless you have those long shots where you just talk and don't show anything. But there are different styles out there too. All right, son, come on, warm me up just a little bit. Camino looks so beautiful in front of me that I mean, it still looks good behind me, but it looks just perfect that I just want to be filming with it as my background. Just wanted to say that the blue arrows have disappeared. I don't know what happened. Did they run out of ink around Arzua? Yesterday I didn't see anything, and today I haven't seen anything either. Doesn't matter, I have my GPS tracks, and pretty soon I'll see the conga line coming my way, and I'll know which way the Camino goes. Also today, Puerto Marin, as I mentioned yesterday, it gets overrun by pilgrims because everybody starts in Sarria. There are plenty of places to stay in Sarria, but not as many in Puerto Marin. So today and tomorrow is when I'm gonna hit the brunt of the wave. Yesterday nobody asked me or told me that I was going in the wrong direction. Maybe it's because I had the mask on and it does look a little bit, you know, scary. But like I said, I had to take care of my skin. I'm already getting a couple of sunburns, not sunburns, like, what do you call that? Manchas in my face. And if I'm gonna be walking 6 months out of the year, every year, you know, I'm gonna look like an old bag by the time I'm 50. What else? What else? Look at all this mud. Where did this come from? It hasn't rained in a few days. Oh, by the way, I knew I forgot to say something. I was in Santiago on Monday, the 8th. Was it the 8th? When the lunar eclipse took place. Of course, we couldn't see anything. I think from Santiago you could see like a partial eclipse, but it was cloudy and raining, so we missed it. But they're saying already that the next eclipse in 2026 is gonna cross the whole Camino. Oh, I'm making reservations already. "70 kilometers down, yes, a few hundred to go." Oh man, I'm loving this light. Look at this. The biggest difference between doing the Camino that way or that way is I have perfect lighting for the video. I have frontal 45 degrees at an angle, just perfect. This is usually what I look like when I'm vlogging, going the normal way with the rim light here. Always trying to do this, always stopping and talking, facing the sun, and now I just have it in the perfect spot. Now at Dia Burgess yesterday, I saw so many injuries in young people, and it reminded me definitely of my first Camino. And I just wanted to talk a little bit maybe about my training routine. One of those intros that I filmed in Santiago is just to do a whole video about how to train for the Camino. But just to give you like a quick recap of what I do, you know, I'm constantly walking throughout the year. Even when I'm home, there's like a golf course by my house that's like 14-kilometer loop around it, and I go there every now and then. But then, like a month and a half, maybe 2 before I go out on a Camino, I start going there more and more often. First without a backpack, just walking, building up the stamina. Then I add my backpack, I add some weight. Sometimes I even have more weight than what I'm gonna be carrying out here. But the most important thing is you need to train off-road. You're gonna be walking out here in all different kinds of terrain. Our feet are used to walking on flat surfaces, so all the tendons, all the ligaments that are there to stabilize your foot, they're not being used as much as you're gonna use them out here. So if you come fresh as a city slicker, that's when they're gonna start screaming in pain and you're gonna pay the consequences. So you gotta start stretching those. You can walk on the grass, you know, on the side of the sidewalk, or you can walk, let's say, go to the beach. If you have a beach, walk on the sand, just trying to keep your feet doing this at all time. Of course, if you have trails by your house, hit those trails, car, and build up just enough stamina so that when you get here, you're still gonna suffer the first week, but it won't be as bad. Now, in my case, you know, I grew up in Cuba. There were no cars. I mean, there were cars, but we didn't have them. And I used to walk everywhere. I used to go to school walking. Sometimes I would skip school just to go to the river. And, you know, maybe that's why I like the Camino so much, just visiting my grandparents in the countryside, seeing the cows, you know, nature, the rivers, the streams, just like the Camino. Maybe that's part of the attraction. Luggage transfer. Nah, I'm just kidding. There's this detour here to see this church, and every time I pass by, I think I'm gonna go see it, and I never do. I should have done it on the bicycle since it would be way faster. But the day that I passed through here on my bike, it was the worst rainy day on that trip, and I was just completely drenched, hiding in the bars, you know. I saw a couple of subscribers that day, and I didn't get to film as much, and I just wanted to get to a hostel that's like 20 kilometers away from Santiago. And then the next morning, I was gonna go past Santiago and 40 kilometers into the Camino to Fisterra. Met 4 ladies. They were all over my patches in my backpack. And then when they found out that I was doing this backwards, they totally lost their mind. I really enjoy those little moments that I get to share with the pilgrims that are curious and they wanna know why I'm doing this in reverse. I mean, everybody does it that way. It's a one-way street and we all know why. It is the Compostela. Everybody wants their medal when they get to the end of a race. But sooner or later, you're gonna realize that the journey is the destination, and then it will open up your eyes to a different Camino. That's a steep, rocky section. There's a similar one arriving in Puerto Marin. So for me, it's gonna be early tomorrow morning. But don't be afraid of this. If this is too much for you, you can take the road, which is, it's just a little section. I'm about to reach this town that has an albergue where I almost stayed at instead of staying in Puerto Marin. I called and I think they were closed when I was trying to get the reservation made. So I decided, let me just stick to the official stages on this section. And you know, maybe I'll do a Camino one day where I'm completely offset. There's the town. There's the albergue. Can you tell it's noontime already? It is here in Ventas de Narón, where I made my lunch stand right next to Capella de la Magdalena, where I got my stamp from that blind guy. Had a conversation with him for like 10 minutes, and then I decided to have something to eat for lunch. So I had an omelet, chorizo and cheese with a little piece of bread, café con leche, and closed it with torta de Santiago. I'm hitting the bubble already. Made it to the highest point of the day, and from here it's gonna be a nice descent all the way down to Puerto Marin. There are some ruins up ahead that I'm gonna go ahead and visit. It's just like a little side trail from the main one, but it's well worth it. What's up? You know, it surprises me how many people completely miss the ruins of Castro Mayor. I'm here all by myself after seeing all the groups of pilgrims making their way next to the road. This is so close to the Camino, and most people just completely miss it. What a shame, right? But that's how it goes. This is only for us now. I'm blown away by the view coming down from the ruins. Usually what I'm seeing right now will be your background and your focus on the climb, and your view will be that abandoned building. But this is what I get. Switch over to the Canon camera. There you go. And the reason why I think most people don't go to the ruins is because this is quite the climb, and when you make it to the top, you're done. And you're like, I'm not going that way to see no ruins, and you skip it not knowing what you missed. It is 2:20 in the afternoon, and I'm taking my sweet time. I stopped here in this bar, Osteria de Gonzar, in the town of Gonzar, of course. This will be the last bar on today's stage. It is the first one when you start in Puerto Marin. I know it, because usually when you leave Puerto Marin early in the morning, there are no places to have breakfast. So this is the one where you do have it, and it's 8 kilometers away. So it's over an hour away, and it's a climb up to here, so it's not fun. It's happened to me a few times, and I just sat there, enjoyed a beer and some sparkling water, and then I had an idea. I'm like, let me just get the Compostela and hang it out, because since people are like taking pictures of my patches, and every time I pass them by, they kind of look at me, I want to have it back there in full display, with the scallop shell and all the patches down below. So it's like the wall of fame right there. So let's just go ahead and make our way to Puerto Marin and stay at my private room at the same albergue where I stayed last year with my group when I was a guide, and just enjoy the views from up there of the bridge down below. We got a beautiful day. It's really, really warm right now. I'm gonna pull out my umbrella as soon as I finish this clip, because it is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like, what, like 20 something Celsius? Probably in the low 20s, yes. great views all around with clear blue skies. Man, the visibility is great in every direction. Now, are those mountains up ahead where Osebreid is at? Because it looks like I'm gonna be tackling those mountains in the days ahead. Now, I just bumped into a pilgrim, a French pilgrim, Fabian. His friend Nicole told him that I was doing this in reverse to keep an eye out for me, and we bumped into each other. So we had a little moment there where we talked. I'm at the, the end of the stage, enjoying the last leg, walking through the forest. And the pilgrims that I've actually seen, they didn't start this morning in Puerto Marin, of course not. They're kind of staying in between stages to avoid the crowds, and that's a good idea. Maybe I should have done the same, but I kind of had to improvise this trip when I was doing the Via de la Plata, because originally I was gonna walk the Camino de Arles in France and then connect with the Camino Frances, but I had a moment there where everything lined up and I'm like, I'm going to Rome, and that's what I'm doing now. Ooh, I recognize this horreo.
Il prépare le dîner.
Il prepare le dinner. They are making dinner. Ellos preparan la cena.
Le gâteau est prêt.
Le gâteau est prêt. Le gâteau est prêt. Le gâteau est prêt. The cake is ready. La panetela está lista.
Je veux une pomme.
Je veux une pomme. I want an apple. Yo quiero una manzana. Je veux une pomme.
Aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi.
Aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi. Today is Wednesday. Hoy es miércoles. Aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi. Mercredi, miércoles.
Les enfants jouent chaque jour.
Les enfants jouent chaque jour. Got it! Génial! Exactement! Super! So here we are making our descent to Puerto Marin. This is the climb that's a tough one in the morning, especially if it's day 2 for you. After surviving day 1 from Sarria to Puerto Marin and being destroyed and then having to face this early in the morning on your second day, it might be a lot for you. I've been seeing complimentary stone markers, so maybe they have shifted the Camino away from here, which it would be a shame. I mean, it's probably an easier climb the other way around, but this forest is incredible. And as always, the most toughest challenges, they take you to the most beautiful places, and this forest is definitely one of them. Now, of course, in the morning, this is like super dark. If you leave Puerto Marin like at 6 or 7, when you're walking through here, you barely see anything. So I would suggest you start a little bit later so that you get to enjoy it fully lit like this. I can already see Puerto Marin through the cracks in the canopy. Oh yes. 4:30 in the afternoon, made it to Puerto Marin, and it is too hot. It is 31 degrees Celsius, which is like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm baking. And I mean, I've been to like -4 on this trip, so to be on the 30s is a new one. I can see already the albergue where I need to check in. What's up? And yeah, today I need a big shower, and I need to do laundry as well. I think tomorrow in Sarria, I'm gonna get all my clothes and throw it in the washer and the dryer. But for now, it's all hand wash. But 31 degrees, and it's only 4 in the afternoon, it's gonna do the trick. Well, this is it, boys. This is my room. It's good to have a room. And what else do I have here? Ooh, the other way? No, this way. Okay. Got a little terrace here. Let's see what kind of view I have. I can't go out with all my backpack and all my gear. I need to take it off. But look at this place. Nice. It's the only thing I could find, the cheapest thing I could find. Everything is book solid. That's how it is. Do I have a shower here? But of course I do. Oh, decent size. It's not one of those space pods. What is going on, buddy? What's going on in this town? The temperature went as high as 36 degrees Celsius. That was just too much. My God. And, you know, I did laundry, of course, by hand in my own room. And then I hang it out there from the clothesline from the second story of the albergue and came out here to have a drink. And now I just had dinner, went for the chipirones, of course, with fries and the house wine. I snuck into the municipal albergue just to see if there were a lot of pilgrims, and to my surprise, it was kind of empty, which is weird. I mean, I have noticed that over the last few days, the numbers of pilgrims that I've been seeing have been decreasing. And the lady told me at the albergue that after Semana Santa, there's like a transition period. So, you know, we're still at the beginning of the season. So probably most of the pilgrims are starting right now in Saint Jean Pied de Port. So something tells me that after I cross Sarria, the numbers are gonna drastically drop. Tomorrow we have a 22-kilometer day, shorter than today. We're gonna start with a 7-kilometer ascent. We're gonna hang up there for 8 kilometers and then a 7-kilometer descent. It's gonna be hot just like today, and the only thing that I'm afraid of is that it may trigger some rain in the future. So yes, day 5 on the Camino Frances in reverse is now over. It was a nice day, I have to say. And today, the troll angel of the day is Jacqueline Johnson. Thank you so much for your troll magic. Tomorrow, let's see if I can get some breakfast, because so far on this town, I have never been able to get it, but I'm gonna leave probably around 8. If for any reason there's no breakfast in this town, I know that there are a few albergues up in the hill. Maybe the people that stay there will have breakfast and then the bars will be open. If not, I don't know, we'll play it by ear, as we always do. See you guys tomorrow at 8 o'clock.